What's up? Let me tell you a little bit about our trip to the Masters. I have a friend who gave us passes. Saturday, Sunday, 2018 Masters at Augusta National. I've only been there once before, prior, and it was a practice round. Haven't been to a tournament day ever. This will be a first for me. My wife, Annabeth, has never been to Augusta National. This will be a first time for everything, much less to go to Saturday, Sunday. So for us, it meant travel. Leaving on Friday. When we left, we drove through a driving rain for the first part of the trip, then made our way through Birmingham, on through Atlanta, cut to cinematic travel video. By the way, thanks to the fine people at Barnes Crossing Hyundai Mazda in Tupelo, my hometown, for hooking me up with a great rental car. Cut to cinematic car video. Seriously though, thanks to all the people at Barnes Crossing. Really nice people, just so easy to call and talk to them and say, hey, here's my situation, I need a car. They hooked me up, thank you. So in case you've never been to the Masters, here's one thing you do have to know. It requires a lot of walking. You have to be in fairly decent shape, and depending on where you park, we found some private parking close to the entrance of the golf course, and even once you get to the entrance, you have a pretty decent little walk around and down this walkway and through these couple of tunnels. Everything's, you can already tell, you know, a lot of money has been spent to make all this stuff look really nice. And then you kind of turn the corner and there are some azaleas and this big walkway that leads you through another tunnel and up to the entrance of Augusta National. Let my wife Annabeth tell you a little bit about her experience.
As soon as we walk in, I was immediately amazed at how gorgeous everything was. I expected it to be beautiful because I'd watched it on television my whole life, but to actually see the green grass and the beautiful azaleas, every color of pink and white, it was a little bit surreal. It was absolutely gorgeous. I told Matt that I think that heaven is probably going to look a little bit like the Masters did.
It kind of just has this feel of importance. Like you got to walk a long way. Everything's built up and made to look nice. It's almost like going into an amusement park. So highlights from the day on Saturday, round 3 of the tournament. That was our first day there. My wife and I, we walk in, and the first thing we do is we walk to the #1 tee box. We watch Tiger Woods tee off on his Saturday round.
Tiger just looked mad. He looked mad the whole time. Very intense, but really muscular. I was like, Matt, look at him. He is ripped. Phil Mickelson looked a lot thinner in person and a lot taller. I told Matt I thought he looked a lot taller. Freddie Couples, who is one of my all-time favorites because he's one of my grandfather's all-time favorites. Couples was so handsome and so cute. He looked a lot younger than he really is.
And then we walked over to the #8 tee box to start watching groups come through on #8. We wanted to catch Phil Mickelson coming through, and we did.
And as soon as we got there, sure enough, it was raining. Matt said, put your hat on. So I had an Ole Miss hat on, and Matt had a State hat on, of course.
When we walked up, we happened to be just by chance standing right next to some people who are huge Mississippi State fans from Chattanooga.
And someone goes, Mr. Wyatt, Hell State. And we look down and there's this really sweet couple from Chattanooga who starts talking to Matt, telling them, you know, we're big State fans. We come to all the games. We watched you play. And they're like, what are you doing in that Ole Miss hat? A girl working the concessions as we were getting our lunch that day. I was like, hey, y'all come here. And we're like, oh, okay. We walk over and I'm like, what in the world is this girl going to ask us? And she goes, how are y'all married? How does this work?
And as we walked around on Saturday, that first day at the tournament for us, one thing that was kind of striking, we didn't think about this ahead of time, is the whole internationality of the crowd, of the patrons. You know, you just hear accents from all over the world and languages from all over the world, all right there in Augusta, Georgia, because this is kind of a bucket list item for people across the entire globe.
I was a little starstruck, and on the 18th hole on Sunday, another star moment, if you will, was when Condoleezza Rice walked right to the right of us, just a few feet from us, in her green jacket as she made her way to her chair, which was right in front of us on the 18th. That's where we camped out for the afternoon. So I'm like nudging Matt going, look, it's Condoleezza Rice. Like, I couldn't believe it.
I met a guy in a Green Bay Packers jersey, and he was with his father, who's also dressed up in Green Bay Packers stuff. They told us their story. The guy in his 30s, he was working in Augusta on a work trip the year before. He was in a restaurant wearing Green Bay Packers stuff. The owner of the restaurant comes over, starts talking to him, tells him he's a big Green Bay Packers fan himself. And before you know it, the owner of the restaurant in Augusta asked if they could trade Augusta passes for Green Bay Packers tickets to Lambeau. And they traded them. And these guys were there on Sunday, had driven 16 hours from Wisconsin. Earlier, last fall, the owner of the restaurant from Augusta went to a game at Lambeau, his bucket list. He gave them the passes for the Masters. They came down and stayed with him this past weekend and went to the Masters. It was a really neat story, and he said that they didn't just trade tickets. In his words, they traded life experiences.
One of the neatest moments for me Sunday afternoon was after we ate lunch. There's a huge area right by the tables that you can use. It's a phone bank because of course you can't take your cell phone into the Masters. You can check it in as you walk in, but you can't take it in on Saturday and Sunday. So I wanted to call my grandfather, my pop. He's 92, lives in Houston, Mississippi. I have grown up watching golf with him. I can remember watching the Masters with him even. And I was like, Pop, I'm here at the Masters. I called him. I said, it's Sunday. Can you believe I'm really here? And I got so excited to tell him I had followed one of his favorites, Freddie Couples, around that morning. And so it was pretty neat to be able to call him from there and tell him what we had been experiencing, what Matt and I had been seeing, and just to hear his laugh on the other end of the phone, because he's the reason I've really always loved to watch golf and really do love golf and follow it. So I was glad to get to talk to Pop.
One other story that I wanted to relay, and it may be the thing that is the most impactful from the weekend at the Masters. On Sunday, I'm standing beside the 18th green, and there was a little break, and the group of Zach Johnson in it was coming up the fairway onto the green. And right beside me, there was kind of a break in the line, and I heard someone walking up, and I kind of peeked, and it was a guy, looked like he was maybe in his 20s, had a cane, was kind of struggling to walk a little bit, looked like maybe suffered some disease that had taken away his ability to walk normally. His legs the muscles were kind of atrophied. One foot he kind of dragged behind him a little bit and having a hard time getting around, it looked like. And I said, come on up here, this room. And he said thanks. He stepped up. And then about that time, someone came up and said, hey, we've got some chairs here if you want to sit down. He said, no thanks, I'm just here to see Zach. And then I remembered on Saturday, the day before, on the first hole, I watched Zach Johnson tee off, and then I noticed this guy walking up the hill beside the #1 fairway and struggling. I mean, he really had to work hard. Those legs didn't work like normal, and he was using that cane, and I pointed him out to Annabeth. I said, there's a guy that really is independent and proves to me that I don't need to complain about tired feet and legs. That was on Saturday at #1, and on Sunday at number 18, 36 holes later, he was still watching Zach Johnson. And Johnson putted out on 18, and I turned and watched him, and this kid took off. Up the hill he goes. And it hit me, the dedication to, in spite of that disease that might have taken away his ability to walk normally, he didn't let that stop him at all. And he didn't want to sit down. And I thought, boy, what's my excuse? What's your excuse? It really made an impression on me, this kid's dedication and toughness and guts. Man, it touched my heart.